course, business today is on the Finance Act 2023. The Supreme Court today has, of course, declared itself quashing a decision by the appeals court on this matter. Now, President William Ruto's administration has received a major reprieve after the Supreme Court overturned a previous ruling by the Court of Appeal that had declared the Finance Act, or the entire Finance Act 2023, unconstitutional. The landmark decision by the 7 judges of the Supreme Court, led by Chief Justice Martha Koome, now allows the government to implement the provisions of the Finance Act, which are essential for tax collection efforts. This Finance Act 2023 was designed to streamline tax collection and introduce new fiscal measures aimed at boosting the country's revenue. Among its provisions were critical amendments to existing tax laws and the introduction of new levies intended to enhance the government's financial resources. Let us now take a look at some of the highlights of the ruling, and of course, just to give you but a glimpse of each of this based on what the Supreme Court has declared itself on. And what you're seeing here majorly, of course, coming is that the Supreme Court has lifted that Court of Appeal findings. As you can see on your screen, the Supreme Court has lifted the Court of Appeal findings, and it has also declared that Parliament conducted adequate public participation. And if you follow closely as well with what the Apex Court has ruled on this far, is that the consolidated appeal partiality succeeds to the following extent: that they uphold the findings by the Court of Appeal, and that the question relating to the Section 84 of Affordable Housing Levy introduced by the Finance Act 2023 of that Court of Appeal was moot. They also talked about the cross appeals, and what we're seeing here is that the 15th, 19th, and 22nd and 38th to 49th respondents' cross appeals are hereby dismissed. Some of the sections found unconstitutional, and I'll give you details of that, is we're looking at Section 76 and 78 of the Act, amending Section 7 of the Kenya Roads Act 1999, Sections 87 of the Act, amending Section 28 of the Unclaimed Financial Assets Act 2011, are unconstitutional as they were neither incidental to nor directly connected to a money bill. Also, each party will bear their cost of the consolidated appeal and cross appeals. They have also hereby directed that the security for costs deposited in consolidated appeals be refunded to those particular of course, depositors. But what was really the issue regarding the Finance Bill 2023 earlier on, and we're looking at through the year 2023, we had 11 petitions filed in court challenging the Finance Act 2023. And also then we're looking at the petitioners at that time took issue with the legislative process. They also brought into their particular submissions the fact that there was no proper public participation at that particular point in time. And we're seeing that the High Court then declared some provisions of the Act unconstitutional. Most of the acts remained largely intact at that time. And what we also saw then at the time when this particular Finance Act 2023 was looked at was that most of the bench of the justices that looked at this matter in that particular level of jurisdiction was David Majanja, Justice Christine Meoli, and Freda Mugambi. They are, of course, those who presided over this particular disputes that surrounded the finance bill at that time. But looking further as well on this particular Finance Act, in as much as now it is been held as constitutional, giving way for the government to implement, there were preliminary objections on the court's jurisdiction that has so far now been or was overruled. Now, this is pretty much in a nutshell what it is like in as far as the finance bill history 2023 is concerned. There are other, of course, concerns that emerged, and the consolidated appeal partially succeeds to the following extent. There's, of course, a number of things that I've mentioned earlier on, and this is what the Apex Court declared, that they hereby set aside the Court of Appeals findings declaring the entire Finance Act 2023 unconstitutional. And in their own wording, they uphold the following findings by the Court of Appeal: that the question relating to Section 84, that is on affordable housing levy, introduced by the Finance Act 2023 before the Court of Appeal, was moot. Among other issues, and this is of course the verdict today, just so that we're up to date, the Apex Court, led by the Chief Justice Martha Koome, also declared that Section 76 and 78 of the Act, amending Section 7 of the Kenya Roads Act 1999, Section 87 of the Act, amending Section 28 of the Unclaimed Financial Assets Act 2011, are unconstitutional, as they were neither incidental to nor directly connected to a money bill. It's also very important to also highlight that within that particular verdict, the ruling has it that the 15th to 19th and 22nd and 38th to 49th respondents' cross appeals are hereby dismissed. And finally, it's also very important to bring in that this particular Apex Court is made up of 7 judges, that is the 7-judge bench led by the Chief Justice Martha Koome, also the Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu, among other justices. Our whole history has led us to this point, but remember, the housing levy, the tax on fuel, among other things, were highlighted when this Finance Act 2023 was challenged from 2023 up to this point. All right, and now let us now go back to the courts where the Gachagua impeachment